I think the consumerization of healthcare is just going to be a trend that continues, and for better or worse, it's here to stay. I think it's only going to keep getting that way, and we will need to start to have as a healthcare system, but as a pharma industry specifically, better ways that are more data informed to actually have these real conversations with patients.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Ad Podcast. We are coming to you live from the Possible Show here in Miami. We have Chris Paquette, who is the CEO and co-founder of DeepIntent. Chris, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, thanks so much. Appreciate being here.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about yourself. What does DeepIntent do, and what brought you to Possible this year?
Sure. So I'm the founder and CEO of DeepIntent. Started a company about 10 years ago.
Nice.
Actually, April 30th this week is our 10-year
Let's go. Congratulations. That's not a lot of companies can say that, right?
Yeah, in AdTech
it's a lot of fly-by-night operations in this world. Well, or either that or they get acquired and renamed pretty quickly.
Yeah, right? That happens a lot too. We set out early on. My background's in healthcare.
Okay.
Got my degree in bioengineering. Feels like decades ago at this point, which probably is. But the opportunity area that we saw was that pharma is just a different beast.
Yeah, the regulation, creative, HIPAA, 1,000 things, right? Probably the hardest industry to advertise in and market.
Exactly. And when you think about...
And under more pressure than ever these days, right?
100%.
Yeah.
When you think about the virtues of programmatic, it's all about data. It's about using data to create more personalized experiences.
Yep.
So the ability for a platform that is more general purpose to actually tap into the data, it's like fighting one hand tied behind your back, right?
Yeah.
So what we had to do is we had to completely re-engineer the approach to how we work with data, do it in a privacy-safe way, the types of data capabilities and assets that we've brought onto the platform that are specifically designed to help marketers talk to both patients and providers. I think that's actually probably the most important thing that's not maybe deeply appreciated or even understood, is that when you go to another DSP, you're talking to a consumer, right? Or any other marketer I have a consumer customer that I want to influence, I'm going to put ads in front of them. For healthcare, what you have to do is you have to talk to both the patient and the provider, where the patient doesn't necessarily have the complete ability to fulfill and actually
there's a third party that is in on the equation, so to speak.
Right.
They have to diagnose, they have to agree with the use case. Just because you see an ad and you go into your doctor's office, the good doctors at least aren't going to just say, oh yeah, we should write you up a script for that right away. It's going to be a conversation and a consultation and a process.
Correct.
And whether you can actually, even if you have the intent, you may not, well, no pun intended, right? Even if you have the intent, it doesn't mean you can transact on it immediately.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's really what we mean when we say purpose-built, right? Is that like we know the end objective of the marketer, and then the healthcare marketer, and then we reverse engineered all the things that we need to do to make that the most effective way to reach out our patients and provider populations.
I love it. So is there any limitations on provider targeting?
Not
from a HIPAA perspective.
Yeah, no, HIPAA only covers patients.
Okay, awesome.
Of course, we have certain privacy policies that we've enacted as best practices.
Yeah, just kind of like general things, lines you won't cross, so to speak.
That's right, exactly. So we have best practicing guidelines that we do. We actually have a pretty robust regulatory team that works with state AGs and down in DC, tries to raise awareness of the good things that come out of healthcare advertising. I know, it's been a hot topic in the news for the last year or so, if not more. But I think, and I really believe, like what we do has a meaningful role to play in public health.
Yeah,
right?
no, and I know user experience. Sometimes people joke that if they see another Ozempic ad, people dancing around in a square, they might throw something through their TV. But at the end of the day, why do you think healthcare advertising is beneficial for both consumers and the healthcare industry at large? Why do you think marketing, America's one of two Western civilizations that allow it, us in New Zealand. Why do you think it's actually valuable for society to have healthcare marketing?
Yeah, so if you look at just the scope and span of the United States, I mean, there is a huge problem just in the disparity in the way healthcare is actually delivered in the country. So you have parts of rural America that has to travel an hour or more to get to see a qualified physician for what they're actually treating.
Wow, yeah.
So, there's a baseline awareness that I think that's where we come into the equation, where if you're talking about finding a a patient that is in one of those communities that's in the middle of Nebraska, right, or just pick whatever state you'd like, Alaska, it could be anywhere, that has to do that, has to actually travel to find a person, to find a physician that's actually going to be able to treat them. It's all about patient access and awareness, right? So I think it's a way for us to, it's obviously a business model that actually allows us to take advertising, right, but also rethink of it as a way to kind of reach and raise awareness within these populations that otherwise would never know.
Yeah,
right,
because they don't have the opportunity to visit those people.
And when you think about, actually, the bigger problem is that healthcare providers now, as you may know, like they're under increasing amount of stress. Like there's not enough providers to actually meet the demand.
Yeah,
of
there's
patients.
like a shortage of doctors, shortage of nurses.
Yeah.
Pressure for doctors to get patients in and out as fast as possible.
Yeah, and their
things.
time is more valuable than ever.
Yep.
So instead of just having a sales rep show up with some random thing, if you can actually get super precise about, hey, I already know what your patient population looks like, let me actually match make the correct drug that's most relevant for your specific population. I think there's something really powerful in that, where you can actually start to get the right medications out to market to the right patient populations when they need it. So I don't think advertising is the end-all be-all of what our business actually does. I think we're really in the business of raising awareness and helping pharmaceutical companies, biotechs, actually get these life-saving treatments out to market so they can get them in the hands of patients who need them most.
Love it. And then in the age of telehealth and AI, we've all been told not to go down the WebMD, rabbit hole and self-diagnose, but it does seem like AI is advancing to a level where maybe it's as good as or a great supplement to doctor-patient advice. Are you seeing interesting things happening on the innovation side where folks can engage with AI systems and get a blood test and port their own data in and kind of it feels like the consumer has more access to information and more ways to synthesize it than ever before. How are you seeing those showing up in use cases for your platform?
It's exactly the trend that's happening. In fact, actually probably is somewhat related to the physician burnout that we mentioned before.
Because people are coming in and they've already, you thought they were ready to make an argument for the treatment that they quarter chair doctor, before, and now they're really in for a tough time, right?
But consumer, I think at least in the U.S., the consumer is more empowered. The patient is now more empowered than ever to actually own healthcare choices. For one, I uploaded my blood work. I got something done. Function Health is a company I use.
Anything interesting?
No, I'm clean.
Insightful?
I'm squeaky. But no, actually, the one interesting thing is that it was able. This is probably not a function of AI necessarily alone, but this test was actually able to pinpoint like a specific type of LDL cholesterol that my family has like heart history issues, and it turns out that this is probably TMI, but like the actual like LDL particles are a little like the density of them are slightly off, and I'm like, no provider is ever going to give me.
That's a lot of.
It's like a lot of information.
Baseball, huh?
Now I can see pros and cons.
Is that useful in any way?
If nothing else. Exercise, eat well,
same
it's all
type of things.
But I think it goes back to the point I said before, is that it's actually accelerating the need to why marketing now is if you can do it in the right way with the right data, actually have a platform like ours that can get the right information in front of these patients and consumers who are increasingly becoming more self-aware and more self-empowered of their own health. Then there's a real, I believe, a societal benefit to what we're doing. So now you can actually get the right medications and treatments and clinical trials out directly to the patients, right? And to help inform them in the ways that they will go about managing their health. So I think, the consumerization of healthcare is just going to be a trend that continues, and for better or worse, it's here to stay. I think it's only going to keep getting that way, and we will need to start to have, as a healthcare system, but as a pharma industry specifically, better ways that are more data informed to actually have these real conversations with patients.
Interesting. I know there are some unicorn healthcare data companies at the front end of healthcare, basically doing deeper research in embryonic states inside of fertility centers. So being able to say, like, you have these precursors potentially for certain diseases, defects, and situations, and kind of inserting that extra layer of data during like in vitro, which is becoming more and more popular. not just because of health issues, but because people are putting off having kids later and later in life.
Totally.
You know, women freezing their eggs, etc. Do you think kind of in utero data collection or scanning to kind of, you know, help parents choose better outcomes for potential, you know, successful in vitro fertilization techniques? Do you think that, you know, having all of that data up front, does that create any ethical issues, or do you think like the more data we have, the better across all spectrums of kind of the healthcare models?
I'm a big believer that more data, the better.
Yep.
Now, obviously, on a personal basis, what you choose to do with that obviously is informed by consent, right? And so how, like, that agency needs to be placed with the patient to be able to control what they do. But, you know, to that end, there's probably some population level statistics that are just for population health, right?
Yeah, like if you can improve outcomes by, you know, X%, that's actually very meaningful for know, the healthcare industry and how under stress the healthcare industry is in general.
Totally.
Anything that improves outcomes.
I fully believe that, like, when treated right, population level data is actually could be the X factor, right? In terms of how helping us contain cost, improve the quality of care, and ultimately help us manage. Like, we're a nation full of chronic conditions, right? I mean,
totally.
it's a big problem, and I think armed with the right data, we can do that. There's also somebody said, I just listened to a podcast yesterday that was saying how, you know, certain fertilizer usage, actually they've been able to link that to increased prostate cancer rates and colon cancer rates as well. So, you know, look, I think having data, access to big data, and it was found because they were able to correlate different, like,
tumor AI model,
tumor biopsies, AI, public data sets, and being able to find it. I think, like, that to me is just, we're scratching the surface of what's possible with these population level data sets. And look, people are going to get treated care, and we're going to figure out how to progress health and help improve people's lives. So I think that's the really inspiring part that I think drives me and the other people that work at DeepIntent as well.
It's a brave new world.
It is, and I think if you're on the right side of it, you can do a lot of good for the world as well.
Love it. If people at home want to learn more about what you're working on or follow along, where would you like to send them?
DeepIntent.com is our, I'm also on LinkedIn, socials, etc. So Chris Paquette. But DeepIntent's a great first stop.
Appreciate it. Thanks for spending some time with us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Cheers.
Thank you.